Ricky Nelson was more than a teen idol. He was a symbol of a golden era, a boy next door whose charm and talent capture hearts across the nation. From a childhood spent in the harsh glare of studio lights to a meteoric rise as one of music's youngest stars, Ricky's life seemed perfectly scripted. Yet beneath the polished surface lay a complicated story of private struggles, unspoken resentments, and a fierce desire to break free from the confines of his public image. The world saw a smiling face on screen and heard a voice that topped charts, but behind the scenes, hidden tensions simmered. There were powerful forces shaping his path, and a few names in the industry who ignited deep, lasting bitterness within him. Details only coming to light after his sudden, tragic death. This is the story of Ricky Nelson's rise, his battles, and the secret grudges he carried quietly, far from the public eye. Born into a family immersed in entertainment, Ricky's life was never ordinary. His childhood blurred with his career, every moment orchestrated under watchful eyes, leaving little room for normal childhood joys. Battling asthma and living under strict parental control, his world was a complex mix of early fame and private rebellion. At the height of his success, Ricky's relationships, ambitions, and artistic struggles revealed a man yearning to redefine himself beyond the teen idol label. As he carved out a new sound and faced conflicts with other stars, his frustrations remained private, locked away behind a facade of polished perfection. The tensions between public adoration and personal turmoil set the stage for a story both triumphant and heart-wrenching. A story that ends in tragedy but reveals truths long kept in shadow. Ricky Nelson's life was a study in contrasts, a public persona that radiated charm and wholesomeness, and a private world marked by frustration and rebellion. Born into the spotlight, his early years were anything but typical. While other children played outside, Ricky was confined indoors by severe asthma, watching quietly from the sidelines. His childhood revolved around scripts and rehearsals, as his family's radio show made every moment a performance. The move to Los Angeles in 1941 only intensified this, transforming a picture-perfect Cape Cod home into a relentless workspace. His parents tightly controlled every detail, blurring the lines between family and career. Though Ricky's charm won hearts on screen, the boy inside longed for freedom, burdened by expectations and illness, living a life far removed from the carefree youth most took for granted. As Ricky grew, so did the tension between his image and his true self. His secret romances, like the one with Marianne Gaba, revealed a passionate side hidden from public view. Gifts like the engraved gold ring symbolized a depth of feeling rarely seen by fans. Yet these private relationships clashed with the rigid control of his parents, who feared any distraction would derail his career. They managed his earnings tightly, rationed his allowance, and quashed engagement rumors, forcing Ricky to rebel in quieter ways. Late-night parties and secret girlfriends became his silent acts of defiance. Meanwhile, his music career skyrocketed. At just 17, his debut album hit #1, and singles were seamlessly integrated into his family show to build his star power. The success was undeniable, but the pressure to maintain the perfect image grew heavier with every hit. Behind the scenes, Ricky's frustrations deepened as clashes with other stars exposed the cutthroat realities of fame. Elvis Presley, the king of raw charisma, became a symbol of what Ricky was not, unrestrained and rebellious, while Ricky felt trapped in a wholesome mold. Elvis's mocking words and the media's TV Elvis label stung deeply, fueling Ricky's determination to break free. His strained relationship with Roy Orbison highlighted this further. Touring together in the 1960s, their artistic differences ignited conflict, with Orbison pushing Ricky towards safe, formulaic performances, while Ricky craved evolution. The departure of Randy Meisner from his band added a personal wound, a betrayal that cut deep and left lasting scars. Even confrontations with Bo Diddley and Gene Pitney reflected Ricky's intolerance for arrogance and authenticity, driving home how isolated he felt in an industry that demanded conformity. These grudges never spilled into public drama but simmered quietly, shaping the man behind the fame. As the 1970s unfolded, Ricky's career and personal life faced mounting challenges. The music industry struggled to categorize his evolving style, and record labels grew uncertain, leading to fewer opportunities and smaller venues. His marriage, once a symbol of stability, turned cold and distant. After a long tour in 1977, Ricky returned to find his wife had moved his belongings and brought 2 cheerleaders into their home, a devastating blow that shattered his world. Accusations of drug use and dangerous behavior surrounded the couple's bitter divorce, draining finances and fracturing the family. Though Ricky continued to tour, the relentless schedule took a toll on his health and spirit. His purchase of a faulty plane for travel was a desperate attempt to regain control, a decision that would end in tragedy. The crash on December 31, 1985, not only claimed Ricky's life but revealed the hidden struggles and unspoken resentments he carried, marking the end of an era defined by brilliance and heartbreak. RickyNelson's simmering frustrations with the music industry and his peers reached a breaking point as he sought to escape the suffocating mold of teen idol fame. His public image was that of America's clean-cut TV son, but behind the scenes, he was fighting to claim his own identity as a serious artist. This struggle became sharply visible in his clashes with some of the biggest names of his era. Elvis Presley, whose raw magnetic presence defined rock and roll rebellion, was a constant shadow over Ricky's career. Though Elvis's talent was undeniable, the mocking jeers he directed at Ricky stung deeply, labeling him a pretender. The media's TV Elvis tag only deepened Ricky's resentment. Determined not to be cast as a mere copycat, Ricky pioneered a country rock sound that marked a radical departure from his earlier teen idol style. A bold statement that he would no longer be confined to anyone else's expectations. This was not just a musical evolution but a personal declaration, fueled by years of quiet bitterness and the desire to prove his authenticity beyond a boyish image. Ricky's tension with Roy Orbison was another fierce battle behind the curtain. Touring together in the 1960s, the two stars represented contrasting approaches to their craft. Orbison's perfectionism and insistence on safe, established hits clashed with Ricky's restless urge to experiment and push boundaries. The backstage dispute that followed symbolized everything Ricky was fighting against: the industry's relentless urge to box artists into neat, predictable categories. Orbison's criticisms felt like shackles, tightening around Ricky's creative spirit. This confrontation became a catalyst for Ricky's determination to carve out a grittier, more mature sound that would shatter the constraints of his earlier fame. It was a turning point that underscored Ricky's growing refusal to remain a product of his parents' carefully managed image or the industry's narrow expectations. The personal betrayals hit hardest when Randy Meisner, a trusted member of Ricky's Stone Canyon band, abruptly left to co-found the Eagles, reportedly taking musical contacts and arrangements with him. For Ricky, this was not just the loss of a bassist but a deep wound of trust broken at a critical moment in his career. Meisner's departure felt like abandonment, a sharp stab from someone who had shared his journey. The betrayal left Ricky banishing Meisner from rehearsals and public conversations alike, his silence about the incident masking the profound pain beneath. This rupture revealed the fragile alliances that underpinned Ricky's attempts to reinvent himself. It highlighted how, despite his talent and drive, he remained vulnerable to the shifting loyalties and cutthroat realities of the music world. Ricky's public and private battles converged dramatically in his clashes with Bo Diddley and Gene Pitney, two stars whose arrogance and attitude struck a raw nerve. At a 1960s music festival, Bo Diddley openly accused Ricky of selling out rock and roll, softening the genre for suburban audiences. The confrontation escalated quickly, with Ricky firing back in defense of evolution and change within music. The tension was so palpable that crew members intervened to prevent a physical altercation. For Ricky, the accusation of being fake was the ultimate insult, one that pierced his carefully guarded identity. Similarly, Gene Pitney's dismissive arrogance and public boasts about outselling Ricky intensified a simmering bitterness. Pitney's callous label of Ricky as "yesterday's news" was met with quiet but intense resentment. These moments crystallized the emotional weight Ricky carried. A man struggling to maintain dignity and creative freedom amid the ruthless egos and harsh judgments of his peers. The grudges he harbored were never aired publicly but burned beneath the surface, fueling the complex, often painful path that defined the next phase of his life and career. RickyNelson's later years reflected the heavy toll of battles fought both on stage and behind closed doors. As the 1970s progressed, his career faltered under the weight of changing musical tastes and industry doubts. Record labels struggled to fit his evolving style into a clear category, and opportunities dwindled, pushing him towards smaller venues and minor television roles. The once celebrated teen idol now faced an uncertain future, a stark contrast to the dizzying heights of his youth. At home, the pressures mounted, his marriage to Chris fraying under the strain of long tours and growing emotional distance. The lavish lifestyle they maintained, supported by private schools and multiple homes, masked a household torn apart by conflict and disappointment. When Ricky returned from a tour in 1977, he was met with a devastating scene. Locked out of his own house, his belongings moved to a rental, and Chris accompanied by two Los Angeles Rams cheerleaders. The humiliating discovery confirmed the end of their relationship, shattering what remained of their fragile union. The divorce that followed was as bitter and drawn out as the breakdown of Ricky's career. Both sides traded accusations of substance abuse and poor parenting, fighting fiercely over custody of their 4 children, aged between 8 and 19. The legal battle drained over $1 million and left deep emotional scars on the family. Despite the turmoil, Ricky was granted joint custody but faced mounting financial pressures, ordered to pay thousands in monthly child support. Touring became his refuge and responsibility, a way to meet obligations but also a grueling cycle that wore down his health and spirit. His investment in a sprawling Mulholland Drive mansion in 1980, meant to be a fresh start, instead became a source of tension, haunted by rumors of ghostly happenings that only added to the stress of his unsettled life. Ricky's journey had transformed from the golden boy adored by millions to a man struggling to hold together the pieces of a fractured existence. In his final years, Ricky clung to hope for a revival, even as his health waned and his spirit grew weary. His fear of flying led him to purchase a 1944 Douglas DC-3, a plane previously owned by Jerry Lee Lewis, hoping it would offer privacy and ease travel. Yet the aircraft was notoriously unreliable, plagued by mechanical failures and emergency landings. Despite warnings and clear dangers, Ricky pressed on, driven by financial needs and the relentless demands of his schedule. The tragic climax came on December 31, 1985, when thick smoke filled the cabin mid-flight, and pilots struggled to maintain control. The plane crashed while attempting to land in Texas, bursting into flames and scattering wreckage over 150 yards. Only the pilot survived. Ricky, his fiancée Helen Blair, band members, and crew all perished in the fiery wreckage. At just 45 years old, RickyNelson's life ended abruptly, leaving a stunned world to grapple with the loss of a star whose light had once burned so brightly. The aftermath revealed a complex portrait of a man caught between fame and personal demons, between public expectation and private turmoil. The autopsies required to identify the victims underscored the severity of the crash and the finality of Ricky's journey. His death marked a tragic conclusion to a life filled with extraordinary highs and heartbreaking lows. It was a vivid reminder of the fragility of both fame and life itself. Ricky's story, from a childhood overshadowed by studio lights to the grudges and betrayals that shaped his career, and finally to the fractured personal life that preceded his untimely death, remains a poignant legacy. Behind the golden smile was a man who struggled in silence, whose artistic battles and private resentments defined much of his path, and whose life ended too soon, leaving fans and history to remember both the boy next door and the complex artist he became.